The mockery. The Kryn Empire had conquered 1,000 worlds across the spiral arm of the galaxy. Their fleet, dark and menacing, emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system like a storm cloud threatening a peaceful meadow. Commander Zarvok stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, his 4 arms clasped behind his back as he observed the blue planet before him. "Earth," he said, the word dripping with disdain. "Another primitive world to add to our collection. Begin the standard protocol, Lieutenant." His second in command, a younger Kryn with gleaming purple scales, tapped several holographic controls. "Broadcasting the ultimatum now, Commander." Deep in an underground bunker beneath Cheyenne Mountain, General Sarah Chen watched the alien transmission with an expression that bordered on amusement. The room was filled with Earth's top military minds, scientists, and strategists, all gathered around holographic displays showing the massive alien fleet. "People of Earth," the alien commander's voice boomed through the speakers, automatically translated by AI. "I am Commander Zarvok of the Kryn Empire. Your world has been chosen for integration into our glorious civilization. Surrender immediately, and you will be granted the honor of serving as vassals. Resist, and face annihilation. You have 12 of your hours to comply." As the transmission ended, the room remained oddly quiet. Then, to everyone's surprise, General Chen began to chuckle. The chuckle turned into full-blown laughter, and soon several other officers joined in. "They really have no idea, do they?" Colonel Marcus Williams said, wiping tears from his eyes. Dr. Elena Petrova, head of Advanced Defense Technologies, shook her head with a smile. "Their arrogance is almost endearing. They're using subspace communications we abandoned 50 years ago." General Chen composed herself and turned to her aide. "Patch me through to the President. It's time to initiate Protocol Omega." President Maria Alvarez appeared on the secure channel, her face calm despite the situation. "I take it our visitors are as impressive as we expected." "Even more so, Madam President. They're putting on quite a show out there." Chen's eyes twinkled with barely contained mirth. "Shall we proceed with the charade?" "By all means, General. Let's give them what they expect to see." The next few hours played out like a carefully choreographed dance. Earth's public broadcasts showed panic in major cities, emergency meetings at the United Nations, and hastily assembled defense forces. To any observer, it looked exactly like a primitive civilization scrambling to respond to an overwhelming threat. Ambassador James Thompson, chosen for his theatrical abilities as much as his diplomatic skills, established communication with the Kryn fleet. His performance was masterful, the perfect blend of fear, desperation, and misplaced bravado. "Commander Zarvok," Thompson said, his voice trembling slightly, "surely we can discuss terms. Earth is a peaceful planet. We have much to offer in trade and cultural exchange." On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Zarvok's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his species. "Look at them squirm," he said to his bridge crew. "They offer trade when they should be begging for mercy." Meanwhile, in secret facilities across the solar system, humanity's true military might remain hidden. The quantum shield arrays around Earth stayed powered down. The antimatter weapons platforms orbiting Mars remained cloaked. The AI-controlled drone swarms in the asteroid belt continued their silent vigil. In the command center, Colonel Williams leaned over to General Chen. "The Kryn are moving into position exactly as predicted. Their fleet formation matches the tactical patterns we've observed in their previous conquests." "Of course it does," Chen replied. "They've never faced real resistance. Why change what's always worked?" The hours ticked by. The Kryn grew increasingly impatient with Earth's diplomatic stalling. Finally, with only minutes remaining before their deadline, Commander Zarvok ordered his fleet to prepare for the invasion. "Ready all weapon systems," he commanded. "Target their major population centers and military installations. Show these primitives the price of defiance." Back on Earth, General Chen turned to her team. "Ladies and gentlemen, I believe our guests are about to learn why it's unwise to judge a book by its cover. Dr. Petrova, are the quantum disruptors ready? All systems green, General. The Kryn won't know what hit them. Excellent. And Colonel Williams, status on the swarm. 10 million ag drones standing by. They can be deployed in 30 seconds. Chen nodded, then activated the Global Defense Network. All units, this is Supreme Command. Operation Reckoning is go. I repeat, Operation Reckoning is go. The Kryn fleet, confident in their superiority, began their attack run. Energy weapons charged, missile bays opened, and troop transports moved into position. They were about to discover that humanity had spent the last century preparing for this exact moment. As the first Kryn weapon fired, a barely visible shimmer appeared around Earth. The quantum shield, powered by zero-point energy generators, absorbed the blast as easily as a pond absorbs a raindrop. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, confusion began to spread. Direct hit confirmed, reported the weapons officer. But no damage detected. Zarvok's 4 eyes narrowed. Impossible. Fire again, all batteries. 1,000 energy beams struck Earth's shield simultaneously. The planet remained unscathed, protected by technology that bent the very fabric of space-time. In the command center, General Chen allowed herself a small smile. Now, let's show them what real firepower looks like. Activate the disruptors. Hidden satellites around Earth came to life. Invisible beams of quantum energy lanced out, striking the Kryn ships with surgical precision. Unlike conventional weapons, the disruptors didn't destroy. They simply turned off technology. One by one, the mighty warships of the Kryn Empire went dark. In the asteroid belt, millions of AI drones activated their engines. Each no larger than a basketball, they moved with perfect coordination, forming a massive net around the alien fleet. The Kryn had walked into a trap centuries in the making. As his bridge lost power and emergency lighting flickered on, Commander Zarvok finally understood. The primitive world he had come to conquer was anything but primitive. The humans hadn't been scrambling in fear. They had been laughing at his arrogance. Commander, his tactical officer said, voice shaking, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. They were there all along, just hidden. Zarvok slumped in his command chair. We've made a terrible mistake. Back in the command center, General Chen opened a channel to the Kryn flagship. Commander Zarvok, this is General Sarah Chen of Earth Defense Forces. I believe it's time we had a real conversation about your empire's future. The laughter in the human command center had stopped. Now, there was only cold, determined resolve. The Kryn had mocked humanity as weak and primitive. They were about to learn why that was the last mistake they would ever make. The revelation. The bridge of the Eternal Dominion was bathed in the eerie red glow of emergency lighting. Commander Zarvok stared at his darkened displays in disbelief as General Chen's voice continued through the static-filled speakers. You see, Commander, we've been watching your empire for quite some time. Every world you've conquered, every species you've enslaved. We've studied it all. Chen's voice was calm, almost conversational. Did you really think a species capable of splitting the atom and reaching for the stars would be defenseless? Zarvok's mandibles clicked nervously. This is impossible. Our scouts reported primitive technology, basic space capabilities at best. In the human command center, Dr. Petrova stepped forward. General, may I? At Chen's nod, she activated her own comm channel. Commander Zarvok, I'm Dr. Elena Petrova, head of Advanced Defense Technologies. Your scouts saw exactly what we wanted them to see. We've had quantum masking technology for decades. Hiding our true capabilities was child's play. Around the solar system, humanity's hidden defenses continued to reveal themselves. On Mars, massive doors in Olympus Mons slid open, revealing a weapons platform that dwarfed anything the Kryn had ever built. The moons of Jupiter transformed as camouflage fields dropped, showing bustling military bases where the Kryn had seen only dead rock. "Sir," Zarvok's science officer reported, her voice trembling, "I'm detecting antimatter signatures everywhere. They have weaponized antimatter on a scale we've never seen." The commander's 4 eyes widened in horror. Antimatter weapons were theoretical even to the Kryn. Too unstable, too dangerous for practical use. Yet these humans had apparently mastered them. Back on Earth, President Alvarez joined the command center via hologram. "General Chen, what's our status?" "All Kryn vessels are disabled, Madam President. The quantum disruptors worked perfectly. They're dead in space, but their life support remains functional." The president nodded. "As planned. We're not monsters, after all." She turned her attention to the alien commander. "Commander Zarvok, this is President Maria Alvarez of Earth. You came here expecting to find primitives. Instead, you found a species that values peace but prepares for war." In space, the millions of AI drones began their secondary function. They projected holographic images around the Kryn fleet, images of Earth's true military might. Massive battleships emerged from cloaked positions behind the moon. Swarms of fighters, each capable of faster-than-light travel, buzzed around the disabled alien vessels. Colonel Williams monitored the psychological impact on the Kryn. "Their stress levels are off the charts, General. They're realizing they're not the apex predators they thought they were." "Good," Chen replied. "It's time for Phase 2. Activate the neural interface." Suddenly, every Kryn in the fleet experienced the same thing. A gentle presence in their minds, not invasive, but undeniably there. It was humanity's most closely guarded secret, the ability to create technological telepathy. "Don't be alarmed," the collective voice of humanity spoke directly into their thoughts. "We developed this technology to promote understanding, not to harm. We want you to see who we really are." Images flowed into the Kryn's minds. Humanity's history, their struggles, their triumphs. They saw humans working together to overcome diseases, to explore their world, to reach for the stars. They saw the wars that had taught humanity the price of conflict, and the peace that had followed when humans chose cooperation over conquest. Commander Zarvok felt tears, something his species rarely experienced, forming in his 4 eyes. He saw human children playing with alien pets, human doctors treating injured beings from other worlds, human artists collaborating with species the Kryn had conquered. "We've been out here all along," the voice continued, "helping where we could, watching, waiting. We've freed 3 of your slave worlds already, though you never knew it was us. We prefer to work in the shadows, to let species think they liberated themselves. It gives them hope, dignity." The neural link shifted, showing the Kryn their own empire through human eyes. The suffering they had caused, the cultures they had destroyed, the potential they had crushed. It wasn't shown with anger or judgment, but with a deep sadness for what could have been. "You came here to conquer," General Chen's voice cut through the neural link. "But we offer you something else. A choice. Continue down your path of destruction, or join us in building something better." In the space around the fleet, the human forces began an orchestrated display of their capabilities. Energy weapons carved intricate patterns in space, demonstrating precision that made the Kryn's best targeting systems look like children's toys. Fighters performed maneuvers that defied the laws of physics as the Kryn understood them. Dr. Petrova provided commentary. "We developed inertial dampening fields 50 years ago. Our pilots can pull maneuvers that would liquefy an unprotected being. Our energy weapons used focused graviton beams. They can punch through a planet or delicately remove a single atom, depending on our needs." The demonstration reached its climax as a single human ship, sleek, small, almost delicate-looking, approached the Eternal Dominion. It was the Whisper, Earth's most advanced vessel, powered by a miniature artificial sun. Captain Lisa Zhang's face appeared on the Kryn's emergency screens. "Commander Zarvok, I'm going to restore your ship's power now. Please don't do anything foolish." A beam of energy touched the Eternal Dominion, and systems throughout the ship hummed back to life. Zarvok's tactical displays lit up, showing him the true extent of humanity's forces. His fleet of 1,000 ships was surrounded by millions of human vessels, many so advanced his sensors couldn't even classify them. But why? Zarvok finally managed to ask. Why hide all this? Why let us believe you were weak? General Chen's response was immediate, because we've learned that true strength isn't in domination, but in restraint. We could have conquered the galaxy centuries ago, but we chose not to. We've been guardians, not conquerors. We've been waiting for species like yours to either evolve beyond conquest or to make the mistake of threatening those under our protection. The neural link activated once more, showing Zarvok visions of possible futures, his empire crumbling under human retaliation, worlds burned to ash, his species extinct. Then, alternative futures. The Kryn working alongside humans, their technology advancing beyond their wildest dreams, their empire transformed into a federation of free worlds. The choice is yours, Commander, President Alvarez said softly. We can be your executioners or your teachers. We can end your empire in fire, or help you build something better from its ashes. Throughout the Kryn fleet, similar realizations were occurring. Officers who had laughed at human weakness now stared in awe at displays showing technology they couldn't comprehend. Soldiers who had prepared to subjugate another primitive world now wondered if their entire civilization had been the primitive one all along. Commander Zarvok stood from his command chair, his 4 legs shaking slightly. He looked at his bridge crew, saw the same mix of fear and wonder in their eyes that he felt in his hearts. The humans had not only defeated them, they had shown them mercy, offered them redemption. General Chen, he said, his voice heavy with emotion. I believe we need to discuss terms, not for surrender, but for education. In the human command center, smiles broke out across the room. They had won not through destruction, but through demonstration. Not through hate, but through hope. Excellent choice, Commander, Chen replied. Welcome to the real galactic community. We have much to teach each other. The fury unleashed. The transformation of the Kryn fleet from conquerors to students didn't happen overnight. In the days following their humbling encounter with humanity, many Kryn officers struggled with their new reality. But Commander Zarvok, having seen the truth of human power and philosophy, became their guide to a different way of thinking. 3 weeks after the failed invasion, Earth's true military capabilities continued to reveal themselves. The quantum shield array expanded to encompass the entire solar system, creating a protective bubble that made the Kryn's most powerful weapons look like children's toys. The Mars Defense Platform, now fully visible, conducted daily demonstrations of its primary weapon, a focused gravitational beam that could compress a moon into a marble-sized sphere. In the orbital shipyards above Earth, Kryn engineers worked alongside humans, their 4 arms proving surprisingly adept at manipulating human technology. They watched in amazement as humans casually discussed concepts that the Kryn had thought impossible: stable wormholes, time dilation fields, and something called quantum consciousness transfer. But why? Sub-Commander Veltak asked Dr. Petrova during one such session. Why develop weapons that could destroy galaxies if you never intended to use them? Petrova smiled sadly. Because the universe is vast, and not all species choose peace. We learned long ago that the best way to prevent war is to be so powerful that no one dares attack you, and so wise that you never need to attack anyone else. The true extent of humanity's fury, controlled, focused, and terrifying in its precision, became clear when long-range sensors detected another threat. The Vorthan swarm, a race of locust-like beings that consumed entire systems, had been moving toward the Orion Arm for decades. They had destroyed 12 Kryn colony worlds and were heading directly for Earth. They're not like you, General Chen explained to Zarvok as they stood in the Strategic Command Center. They can't be reasoned with, can't be taught. They exist only to consume. We tried to stop them, Zarvok admitted, lost 30,000 ships and achieved nothing. Chen nodded grimly. Watch and learn why we developed these weapons. What followed was a masterclass in controlled destruction. The human fleet didn't wait for the Vorthen to arrive. Instead, they opened an artificial wormhole directly to the swarm's location, a feat that left the Kryn scientists speechless. Through the wormhole came a single device, no larger than a shuttle. It activated upon arrival, creating what humans called a cascade reality failure. The Vorthen, billions strong and spread across light years, simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not killed, they were edited out of reality itself, as if they had never been. The reality eraser, Colonel Williams explained to the shocked Kryn observers. We've only used it twice before. It doesn't just destroy the target. It removes them from the timeline entirely. The only ones who remember they existed are those protected by quantum shielding, like us. Zarvok's mandibles hung open. The worlds they destroyed are restored, Chen confirmed. Your colonies are back, Commander. Your people who died fighting them. They're alive again. They won't remember the Vorthen because, as far as reality is concerned, the Vorthen never existed. The demonstration of such godlike power should have terrified the Kryn. Instead, it humbled them further. They realized that humanity could have erased their empire with a thought, but had chosen education over annihilation. In the months that followed, the Kryn Empire underwent a radical transformation. With human guidance, they began dismantling their conquest infrastructure and establishing diplomatic relations with formerly subjugated worlds. Human teachers arrived on Kryn planets, not to impose Earth culture, but to share knowledge and philosophy. The crown jewel of human technology, the Consciousness Collective, was revealed to select Kryn leaders. It was a network that allowed willing participants to share thoughts, emotions, and experiences across species barriers. Through it, Kryn could experience what it felt like to be human, and humans could understand the Kryn perspective. This is how we knew you were coming, President Alvarez explained to Zarvok during his first connection to the collective. Some of your conquered species joined us secretly. We felt their pain, their fear. We knew we had to act, but we waited for the right moment, when you could be saved rather than destroyed. The galactic community watched in astonishment as the feared Kryn Empire evolved into the Kryn Federation, a democratic alliance dedicated to protection rather than conquest. Their military, once a tool of oppression, became a peacekeeping force working alongside human fleets. 5 years after the failed invasion of Earth, Commander Zarvok stood beside General Chen at the dedication of the first Galactic University on Mars. Students from 100 species, including many formerly conquered by the Kryn, gathered to learn from humanity's greatest minds. You could have ruled us all, Zarvok said quietly. With your technology, your power, why choose this path? Chen watched as a young Kryn and a human child played together in the university courtyard, their laughter echoing across the red planet. Because ruling is easy, building something lasting, something good, that's the real challenge. We learned that lesson the hard way through centuries of war and suffering. Now we teach it to others. The ceremony was interrupted by an urgent message. A new species had been detected at the galaxy's edge. Warlike, aggressive, heading toward inhabited space. The old Zarvok would have seen an enemy to be conquered. The new one saw an opportunity. Shall we greet them together? He asked Chen. Perhaps they too can learn before they make our mistake. Chen smiled and activated her communicator. Admiral Thompson, prepare the welcome fleet. Standard first contact protocol. Show them enough power to give them pause, enough mercy to give them hope. As the assembled fleet, human and Kryn ships side by side, prepared to jump to the edge of known space, Zarvok reflected on how much had changed. The empire that had laughed at human weakness now stood as humanity's strongest ally. The fury they had feared had transformed them, not through destruction, but through revelation. In the end, humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their reality erasers or quantum shields. It was their ability to see potential enemies as future friends, to respond to aggression with education, to unleash not destruction but transformation. As the fleet jumped into hyperspace, carrying the light of civilization to yet another corner of the galaxy, Earth's message echoed across the stars. We are humanity. We come in peace, but we are prepared for war. Choose wisely. The Kryn had chosen wisely. They had faced humanity's fury and emerged not as conquered subjects, but as partners in a grand adventure. Together, they would ensure that other species made the same choice, not through force, but through the overwhelming power of a better way. The empire that had mocked humans had indeed regretted it instantly. But in that regret, they had found redemption, purpose, and a place in a galaxy far grander than they had ever imagined. The last laugh, it turned out, belonged to those wise enough to learn from their mistakes.